Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host.
Hi guys, welcome back to another very special episode. And today I'm super excited as always to bring you one of what I consider great individuals on the show who is out there helping individuals and business owners do very well. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever wondered how you can build your mental ability, your mental fortitude in the current environment as a business owner or as an entrepreneur? Well, if you have, you are in the right place because my guest today, Nofi, has been doing this and also helping others today. So I've entitled this conversation today is Discover How to Create That Iron Steel Mental Tenacity and Learn the methodology you can use to execute your creative projects or your business project. Kofi and Nofi, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. And with me is my colleague and my friend, Trevor Stockwell, as well. Thanks, Trevor, for joining us here today.
Hi. No, you're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. Now, Nofi is an incredible human being. She wears so many different hats. She's a physician, a mother, a wife, a creative producer, and many other things. One of the things that I love about Nofi is she loves helping people know that they can use both of their right and left brains. And we're going to learn more about that today. Nofi, thank you so much again for joining us. Now, to get us started, just give us a very brief intro as to who is Nofi, and maybe you can mention one or two things I've missed out in the intro today.
Sure. So I'm excited to be here. So thanks for having me again. I'm Nofi. Most people call me Nofi. Some people know me as Love Nofi. Some people know me as Dr. Almaroof. It's true that I wear many hats, but I think one tagline that I've been using recently is the creative MD, and that kind of encapsulates both facets of who I am. I'm very much so a creative, but I'm also a physician, and I wear health and wellness on my sleeve. So day to day, I'm either treating patients or coaching clients or working on a creative endeavor. And I'm very, very collaborative in nature. So a lot of the time I'm mentoring or partnering with other creatives to make a film or host an event or do some sort of creative project.
Yes, I love that. And one of the things I didn't mention there is you love traveling. And today you're joining me from Europe. Normally you are in US.
It's true.
About that.
So yes, I've lived in here in Germany over the past 2 years because of work. I've been treating US troops here, and it's been fun being in a position here. But I hope to go back home and be with my family next year, hopefully. But in the meantime, I've had a wonderful time traveling, experiencing different cultures, learning how the Europeans live. You guys are much more relaxed than the US.
It's beautiful. Well, I have to say, on behalf of the military, really thank you for your sacrifice. Leaving home and everything just to come and support the military. It's incredible, and we love you for that totally. And one of your passions, I know, I'll reveal this to our listeners. You love your food. Tell me, which is your very special food, if you had to choose in Europe? I'm not talking about US right now.
In Europe.
Yes.
Oh. So what's really big here that I like, so you guys do a lot of bread and pastries. Oh my God. And it gets me in trouble because there's nothing like a good pastry or croissant. But other than that, Germany doesn't have a lot of seafood, but I know that there's a lot of great seafood in Europe. I love me some just good fruits de mar, some calamari, mussels. That's kind of my style.
Yes.
Yeah, with some wine. And I think that's good.
Beautiful. So if you are joining us in the US, you have to visit us and enjoy some of this great food. Well, Nofi, let's dive into our conversation today. Some people would want to know how you got to a place where you are helping others to develop, what we may consider as that tenacity when it comes to their mental attitude or how to go about that. What qualifies you to be that person who brings this knowledge to others?
That's a great question. I think to some extent, everyone is trying to find their own and their purpose. And I think for me, I've done a lot of things that people consider like hard. Yeah. Being a physician is a hard path. I've also done bodybuilding, which is also a hard path. Being in the military is hard. Trying to do, entrepreneurial stuff is kind of hard. So I think, being able to step and traverse those different arenas has given me a lot of perspectives, and a lot of them overlap in terms of you have to learn some certain skills, like being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and being able to kind of shape shift and work with different types of people. Those things always cross those different arenas, and I think that is what helps me be able to really kind of culminate all those things and be able to share with other people.
Absolutely. You totally do. From personal experience of being a business owner, it's no walk in the park. You have to take some setbacks, every now and again. In fact, one of our guests recently was telling us that he had to overcome over 2,000 rejections before he gets to where he wants to be. Sounds pretty familiar to me when it comes to business and perhaps in your journey as a doctor. So we absolutely love to know more about that from you.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to rejection, I think that's just part of the process, especially if you're doing anything creative nowadays. I mean, there's so many people out there, so many content creators and artists, but I think that there's space for you, but you just kind of have to wait. I'm always anticipating a no, and then when I'm told yes, I'm very happy. I think that makes me happy. So
yes, yeah,
it's a good approach.
Yeah. Totally. Nofi, one thing that I often get asked is, how do you actually get started on this journey of becoming stronger? Whatever it is, be it mentally or in all that. Where do you start?
So I think it really starts, I think a lot of the times when people are looking to reach a new level or a new height, they have to start with one thing, and that one thing is vulnerability. And the reason why I say that is because being vulnerable basically allows you to break down whatever walls or denial that you're having currently and lets you accept the possibility of new things. So I think a lot of the times people are really comfortable and they're also just in denial about where they are. And it kind of takes them doing some internal work to say, you know what, actually, I really don't know what I'm doing. And my product really probably sucks. Or, maybe I do need to take some more classes and really just come into that realization that I need to grow. And that's the first step. And then after that, you're able to do so much more, and your mind can open up to new possibilities. You can accept new challenges and really start to do the groundwork that is your goal.
Yes, totally. Vulnerability and being authentic is one of those key things that is not easy to do, but when you do it, you discover that it is your power. Really, it's what sets you apart. And how did you do it yourself?
So vulnerability. So I'll just kind of reflect on my experiences when I'm starting a new creative project or doing something new, whether it's like a video blog or writing a show or whatever. I always get nervous. I'm like, oh my God, people are gonna think I'm crazy. Like, what is she doing again? This crazy doctor. Why don't you just see patients? Why is she doing these things? And though me and my friend, I just spoke with yesterday, we call it noise. And we said we have to block out the noise, because this is noise that we create. Granted, yes, can other people really be saying these things? Maybe, but half the time, most people are worried about their own lives. Yeah. And they're not worried about what you're doing. They see it, but they don't dwell on it to the extent that you may think so in your head. So I think that when I'm doing this, so let me speak back a little bit. The question, because now I'm going down into a rabbit hole. Remind me of the question again.
No, you're on the right track. About how did you overcome the,
yes.
being vulnerable?
Okay, so how I can overcome the fear. So then what I started doing is, so once you have to train yourself to acknowledge that it is noise, in fact. I think that's one thing. And then also another thing that helped me is doing scheduled leaps. And I go over this concept with some of my mentees, and it's about really making yourself uncomfortable on purpose regularly, so that way you are used to that and it's okay. I think once you normalize these things, it becomes okay. It's just like that guy on the street who's playing guitar or dancing, doing a crazy dance. Maybe to everyone else he looks crazy, but he's been doing it for so long, so he doesn't care anymore. And he's living in his own purpose, and that's what he's going to do. So I think that we can really take that concept that it's okay to fail publicly, and I'm okay with that. And learning that, that's normal. We need to normalize failure in order to achieve success in a lot of different ways. I know that social media and just, different things make that tough nowadays because everyone wants to look like they're doing great.
Oh, yes.
But in reality, it's just in order to really, in order for me to overcome a lot of things, I've had to just program that in my mind and actually just fail publicly a couple of times and be okay with that. Or look silly and be okay with that.
The amazing thing, Nofi and Trevor, of course, I've discovered about failure is when you fail, nothing really happens. People will forget, and they move on.
Exactly.
Reinvent yourself and you keep going. It truly is amazing. And the most person who remembers most of it is yourself and perhaps your very closest friends. But the rest, they are onto something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love what you said there, that schedule it and anticipate it and just move on with that. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Suppose people have moved on, they have overcome this vulnerability. What should they do to develop their stance, so to speak, in their journey?
So I think the next step after that is really what I call accepting the challenge. And what that means to me is, so obviously this is going to, whatever you're doing, let's say, you can do whatever goal. I usually use this concept with fitness. And I call it the VAST cycle, and I use it with my clients as well. But it's pretty much you're vulnerable, which is the first step. Then you accept the challenge, and then you ascend, and then you sail. And I love this cycle because it really is something that can apply to different disciplines and different goals. And after you're vulnerable, I think a lot of the times you have to do the work. So this is where it kind of gets to the nitty gritty of everything, because people, they can do everything I just said, but then they don't do the work. And you got to do the work, right? And I think, being vulnerable is not enough. And when you're doing the work, you have to realize that the work is the journey. And along the journey, you're connecting dots, you're building skills, you are learning what you should do and should not do. And this is all important. And I think for me, at one point, a lot of us at one point in time think that, instant gratification is the holy grail of success. Oh my gosh, I hit it big right away. And that's almost never true. And if it is true, something's not right.
Holy,
because if you didn't put the work in, and I really believe I'm a full firm believer of energy. and potential energy. And it's like a roller coaster, right? Like you have to constantly build before you can really get that rush. Yeah. But if you just do like a little bit, I mean, there's not a lot of energy there. It's going to like maybe get a little bit of height and it just kind of feathers out really quickly and it fizzles out. It doesn't last. So you really have to approach your work like that. And it takes time. I just think that people would probably work better if they just enjoyed doing the work, but I think they look at it as a daunting thing and not a learning process, you know?
It's very interesting that you mentioned that, as you know, I've interviewed well over 250, at this point, successful business owners. Rarely, perhaps maybe I can count on my fingers, how many people have said success comes overnight. And the reality is it takes time, it takes effort, it takes persistence, it takes a lot of hard work, for you to get to a place where you celebrate the success. And if you're not enjoying the journey where you are at and expect it to happen overnight, something is not quite right, like you rightly put on there.
And even if nothing like, egregiously bad happens, it's probably just that you just aren't prepared, right? Because you want to be able to really sit in your success and maintain it. And reap the fruit of it, right? So if you build too quickly and you're really not ready because you haven't failed and made mistakes and learned who not to do deals with, or, maybe this isn't the best idea, then you really won't be prepared for your limelight.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think it's kind of one of the things that, as you touch on that about being vulnerable and approaching kind of failure in a sense with a certain level of expectation, is the importance of coaching. So you coach clients to kind of help provide some of that support network. How important, maybe you're biased because you're a coach, but how important, how valuable is a coach? Could we do it without a coach? Is it quicker?
That's a good question. There are some really, I think people need coaches for different reasons. Like I've obviously done things without coaches, but for some things I definitely feel like if I didn't have a coach, I would not get to where I wanted to be. So it is good to have for certain things. I think that a coach is a good coach if they realize that you still have to find your own path, and it's more of like a horizontal process as opposed to an imprinting on you. We're learning together. Like you borrow some of my lessons and I borrow some of your lessons. It's an exchange of energy. I think that coaching is like that. I think that's what creates some of the best relationships, because even for those who have more knowledge, like, for mentors who have more knowledge, and when I think about people who I mentee, I still get some gratification from mentoring them, because it reminds me of A, where I was, and B, how much what I'm doing is still needed and still valued. It gives me that self-actualization and self-worth. So I think that coaching is good. It can be good for both parties. It's not absolutely necessary, but when it does happen, it can be a beautiful thing for sure.
Yeah. And I think having a support network around you at some level, I think, is key. If you can add a coach and a mentor, brilliant. But the first step is maybe just a couple of friends or a confidant around you that you can kind of bounce ideas. I think we just need external input at some point, various stages of our life to get a fresh perspective about things, don't we? And they can also kind of then make us accountable when we do need to be tenacious, but we would, naturally resist that or hold ourselves back. So, no, that's cool.
Definitely.
You mentioned something about the third step. I would love to cover both third and fourth steps before we talk about how do you execute stuff.
Sure.
After accepting the challenge.
So after accepting the challenge is ascend. And this kind of ties into the support thing as well, because I think that, whether it's entrepreneurship or even just fitness, right? So like bodybuilding to some is considered extreme weight loss. And I use this as an example because it's perfect in a sense because you're always going to have people who are happy for you and people who aren't, even those who are integral to your support system, right? Like these are people who like maybe family or friends, and they may approve or not approve of whatever you're doing, And sometimes even though you rely on them for support, at some point they may disappoint you. And it's all about realizing that when you're ascending, if you can actually visualize yourself ascending, you're going to leave some people behind, and you're going to leave some old ways behind, some negativity behind. And that's what that is about. Ascension is essentially knowing that you're kind of rising above, and not necessarily in kind of this condescending way. It's more so you're just reaching a new level, a new normal for you. And naturally, that's going to involve change. And it's not going to look like where you are before in terms of your relationships, in terms of what you're doing, in terms of your day-to-day. And I think that some people, they fail because they're not able to do that, which is why that is the next step.
Yes, yeah. Because sometimes if you haven't got it in you, it feels so bad to leave others behind. So they are following you. One of my mentors said, you are an average of the people that you have with. So, they may be pulling you down or they'll be pushing forward. So you be prepared to follow that inner voice and ascend. And the last stage, perhaps, that you referred to earlier on?
Sure. So the last stage is sail. And sail is basically this time where, and the reason why I put this here is because, and I think this is equally important, it's not just kind of like a trash bag category in the cycle, because there is going to become a time where you feel like what was once difficult is, second nature now. And some people feel like this is a plateau in their lives because maybe they're just used to the same results and not getting, they know that they've reached a level of success, but now they want something more. Naturally, as humans, we always want something more. So sometimes this can be a stage where you have to look and see, how can I become vulnerable again? And that you start to cycle. Or you can actually just sail and be okay with balance and being okay with that too. Because I think we live in, we all live in Western societies. Everything is go, 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 go. And sometimes you really don't have to, you really can relax. You really can enjoy your fruits. You really can take a break. And that's something that myself as a mom and wife and all these different hats have had to learn the hard way, because it's so hard for me to sit still. But then, when you do too much and try to put too much on your plate, sometimes mentally it can take a toll on you in a different way. So it's all about balance, and you can choose in your sailing whether or not you want to make a turn somewhere else and go somewhere, or you just want to chill. So,
yeah. Well, this is brilliant. Really appreciate that. I would love us to talk about another element of your work, how you help others to implement projects. I know people want to know how others are doing it. From your experience working with creative communities, so to speak, how do you take an idea from where it is conceived right to where it is actually a reality that other people are enjoying it? Do you have like a particular formula you follow, or is it intuitive? How do you do it?
That's a good question, because it can be very, very scary to actually think that what you think of can actually come true. But for me, I find excitement in that. And I do. Like, I think it's exciting, and not every idea is going to be like the next best thing, but you can have fun in trying. That's what life's about. You know what I mean? So I think for me, the first step is putting it on paper. And I know this sounds like the most boring thing, but when I tell you, and actually studies have shown that when people put and manifest their goals on paper, they are always more likely to occur. And this paper it can be as rudimentary as a notebook or a journal or a notepad, or it can be as elaborate as a treatment or a business plan or whatever. But all of it is about putting it on paper. So for me, that's always my first step. And I do so many of those things, right? So I have a iPhone notes, like most people. It's filled with so many notes and ideas. But literally, when I'm ready to execute one idea, I take that, and then now it's about, okay, what am I typing up? Is that going to be a treatment? Am I gathering a portfolio? Am I cataloging a list of things and steps that I need to do? And then, you can go even into more elaborate things. And I think the next step after that, before I pause, is just you have to create a timeline. I think that, and then these are simple things, but they're so effective.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't make your timeline, the fact is that you're holding yourself accountable, and that every time you look back at your calendar or your web, I have a web that I made with, that, and looking at the different, I call them game changers, right? So what would change the game if I completed this one task? When you look at those things, it helps you kind of always touch back and refocus and see where you are and what you need to do. And I think that's the first step for any creative project. And it's basically just, it's goal setting.
Yes. Yeah. I can attest to this, that if you don't have a timeline, you will be all over the place, and you end up not going after the needle movers, so to speak. And you'll be busy with everything else other than what you really need to be working on.
Yeah.
And that's how you waste time. I'm glad you pointed that out. And when you face perhaps difficulties in doing that, what is your sort of your secret weapon to get yourself on track?
So I think for me, and everyone's method is going to be different in terms of how they get back on track. There's always pushing and pulling forces against you, and some things are going to push you more towards your goal, and some things are going to pull you away. And you have to ask yourself you have to be patient with yourself a little bit. Because sometimes it's pulling you away for a reason, and maybe you need to be pulled away because you need to focus on family or whatever. That's very true. And sometimes it's pushing you towards because you've been slacking. But regardless, I think what helps me get back on track is always give myself a pep talk, journaling, talking to mentors, or taking a break. Those are some things that I personally do. I think another thing too that can help you refocus, especially when it comes to creative goals, is thinking about what's the worst that can happen, and also thinking about what haven't I tried. Those are two questions that I often ask myself, because what's the worst that can happen can maybe allow you to take a leap that you've been scared to take, and really kind of working through that chain of events. Because a lot of times what's the worst that can happen is really not that bad. Or something that you can get over. Or it is, what haven't I tried? What approach haven't I taken? This is sometimes things that are really asking you to step out of your comfort zone, and maybe you haven't been, and that's what's holding you back.
Yeah. Personally, I have had to learn to do this thanks to my assistant. Every Saturday I have a catch-up call with my personal assistant, and we go over the goals. What is it that we are trying to achieve? What is the most urgent that need to be addressed? What is the most important that need to be addressed? And who is going to be doing those? Sometimes it's me. I have to know that the rest of the team is depending on me, so I've got to do it. But sometimes it's others, and I get the privilege of asking what has been done. It's nice to be on that side of things.
Yeah.
One of my sisters who's going to be listening to this conversation, she will have words with me later on, but it's okay.
Might edit that bit out, you never know. But,
well, yes, but the thing is, we've got that accountability.
Yeah.
Being on the same page as to what we are trying to do over the next 3 months, 4 months, or next year, and those catch-up moments truly help us. Nofi, we are coming toward the end of our time here together, but for those who want to carry on learning with you, where can they find you?
I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit. You said for those people who want to find me, where can they find me?
Where they want to carry on learning with you.
Oh, learning. Sure. So there's a lot of content on my website, www.lovenafi.com. I'm on social media at love_Nafi all over. And for people who are really, really interested in my health and wellness side, you can visit at Love Nafi MD. And if you Google me, I'm everywhere. So I hope to chat with you. I check my own email. So if you ever send me an email, I'll be glad to answer any questions. And coming up, I do have a fitness course that I'm launching. And I'm also going to be doing hosting some creative workshops for entrepreneurs. Kind of going into a lot of the different things that we talked about today, whether that's, how to kind of start from scratch or, battling, things like imposter syndrome or just trying to figure out how to do the internal work to get to where you want to go. So, yeah.
Outstanding. Thank you for that. And we will be putting the link to your website at the bottom of this recording so that people can reach you fairly easily. And I always like to ask this next question, which is our last question, is if you were to do it all over again as an entrepreneur, as a physician, as a fitness individual, what would you do differently? Because you have excelled in 4 different areas. If you were to do all of them, what would be the one thing that you do differently to get you to where you want to be faster, quicker, and efficient?
Oh, faster and quicker. Oh, man. I mean, I really value all the lessons that I've learned along the way. I'm generally a person that doesn't have any regrets, but what I will say is that I think everyone has this it factor that makes them them, and they shy away from it a lot of the times.
Yeah.
If it's one advice that I would give that I would do differently, it would be to own that sooner, because that's what's going to give you that edge. And really, people love people that are uniquely themselves. So I think that definitely own who you are early on, and don't let anyone discourage you from being yourself.
Outstanding. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Nofi, an outstanding gentleman, just an amazing human being helping entrepreneurs. Thank you, Nofi, for being here and sharing your knowledge with us. I truly enjoy that. And if you want to connect with Nofi, there will be a link below this audio recording that you can click and take them there. If you've got any other questions regarding any of our trainings or our podcasts, again, there will be a connection there. And just to highlight one important thing, we've got Yeukai Business Mastermind Center up and running, so which means you can enroll in our coaching programs one-to-one. I've got that one up as well. You can also enroll into our 6 weeks training programs that is going on at the same time. So again, the link will be right below there. Once again, Nofi and Trevor Stockwell, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thanks, Nofi.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, bye-bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.